Everybody to Living for the People with L. Nathan here.
So I wanted to take today's program and talk about three things. What difference does it make if a shutdown occurs?
Wow.
Now I'm saying that I'm trying to be delicate in the way that I talk about it, because we're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars moving through our society. All of that money is not going to, some governor's office or some senator's office. That money ultimately ends up in the hands of people. If that money disappears, how does that affect the population of people that live in the United States that depend on the commerce that money is involved with? So I want to talk a little bit about that. I want to talk about, not a lot of time on it, but I just want to talk about the fact that Kevin McCarthy says that this band of 5 or 6 arch conservatives people call folks arch conservatives. I don't quite understand what that means. I used to think that conservative meant that you just want to keep things like they are. You don't want to mess things up. But these people want to tear everything that exists up entirely and create something brand new. Something that's like us, in charge, and you serve us that are in charge. So we were talking a little bit about the burn it down people right. that have control of the Congress right now.
That's basically, you're right. That's basically what they want to do.
Yep.
They'll go, oh, no, we don't want, that's what you want.
Yep. And if they succeed, blame it on Willie. Okay? Don't blame it on me, because I'm trying to tell on him.
All right, Mr. Hare.
All right. And then the last thing that was on my mind, which may take a little bit more time, is a report that talks about what a second Donald Trump administration would look like if he were to succeed in becoming president again.
Hey, Mr. Hare, just for kicks and giggles, wouldn't it be nice if let's say Trump did become, and we go, but then he end up doing something great for the country? Wouldn't that be nice? I'm just dreaming.
Gosh.
I know I'm dreaming. I'm forgetting.
Here's my response to that, because that gets said to me all the time.
Okay.
And to me it's a preposterous kind of a thing, because why would you bet on somebody who you think is yucky, and I'm trying to find something polite to say. Well, why would you bet on your hand on somebody like that when the odds are like 46 billion to 1 that person's going to do something that's going to be helpful, for you? Right. That most of what they're going to do is going to be helpful for a certain class of people and for himself.
Yeah. Mr. Hare, let me just interrupt real quick. Mm-hmm. When you said it from the beginning, I wanted to stop. I didn't even want you to speak that into existence.
That's true. You can call forth what is not as though it were.
Well, that's what I was actually trying to do. Right? I was dreaming. I was trying to do that. Forget it.
See, that's the priest inside of Willie that's talking right now. Right? Yeah. And so, but let's talk about this. And then whatever else you all want to talk about, call in and, whatever's on your mind, let us know. But on this issue of the government shutdown, I went to Reuters. I went to UPI. I went to Reuters. What I try to do is to go to some non-affiliated sources. Reuters is not identified with being Republican or progressive or this or that. It's just a news outlet that reports out international news all the time. So I thought they would be a neutral place to get this information, and that's what it turned out to be. They talked about how U.S. government services would be disrupted, and hundreds of thousands of federal workers would be furloughed without pay. That word furlough is another one of those magic English words. You normally think of furlough as maybe a week or 2 weeks. A furlough could be a year. Furlough just means that you've been, laid off until they decide they're going to call you back. That's what furlough is, right? So you could be talking about several 100,000 federal employees and their families who will not be able to collect a check after October 1 of this year. That's number one. Many government agencies have not even put together a shutdown plan because Americans, like people, I suppose, all over the world, until the crisis is smacking you in the face, you don't react. That's why those people get caught up in those floods and and earthquakes, and you see this stuff happening.
Yeah.
They tell you it's happening. It's going to happen right over here. It's going to happen at 4 o'clock on Tuesday. You know it's going to happen, and you still sit there saying, well, I think it'll miss us. It won't hit my property and so on. Well, that behavior, that inertia that's inside of us, that's what's going on right now with regard to the federal government and all of the state and county levels of government that may be affected by this shutdown. Because the state gets big money from the federal government, the counties get big money from the states. If that money doesn't filter from the federal government to the states, then it's not going to be around to filter to the counties. And if it doesn't filter to the counties, it doesn't filter to the cities, which means it doesn't filter to you. So this is a cascade kind of an effect. And the important thing about it, when I talk about being a cascade effect, is once a cascade occurs, you can stop the cascade at some point. But the wreckage that already has occurred, it's still there. The wreckage is all those bills that didn't get paid, all those mortgages that didn't get paid, all those people that didn't get hired, all those contracts that didn't get signed. All that stuff is wreckage. That stuff doesn't come back together, the day after the shutdown ends. So there's long-term consequences to this shutdown. Workers deemed essential. This is the other piece of this thing. Workers who are deemed to be essential, they don't get laid off, but they don't get paid. Now, I don't know about you. I do a lot of volunteer stuff. I'm volunteering right now, right? I do a lot of volunteer stuff. But if you demand that I volunteer 40 or 50 hours a week of my time to you with no compensation, it's likely that I'm going to resist that. Okay, you may need to bring some laws to come online to force me to do that, right? And that's what's going to happen this time. October 1, you're going to have people, literally millions of federal workers who are going to be required to work because their positions are considered to be essential. Let's talk about these. In the military, you got 2 million U.S. military personnel that would be considered essential workers. So out of the 3 million people in the federal workforce, 2 out of 3 of those people are still going to have to go to work. But when they go to work, when Friday comes, you know what they used to say in the old days? The eagle flies on Friday, and Saturday I come out to play. Well, the eagle's not going to fly on this Friday. You're going to work all week long, and when Friday comes, the eagle will not be at its nest, right? And Saturday's not going to be a good day for you. And next week, Saturday is not going to be a good day for you. And 2 weeks Saturday from now is not going to be a good day for you because you will have worked 80 to 120 hours and not gotten paid all of that time. There's something like fairness, that ought to be, considered here. But we have people that are in control of the Congress who think that fairness is, well, we got to shut everything down because we spending more money than we should be spending. Now, they say that to you, as we talked about last Friday. They say that to you when they gave up over $500 billion of revenue to the federal budget from corporate income taxes that they no longer get because they dropped corporate income taxes by 41%, right? The money that you used to get from personal income taxes was dropped somewhere between 8 and 11%. That money collectively is more than $500 billion a year. If you had that revenue in your treasury right now, then the whining about, a 1.1 or $1 trillion, a budget deficit, you'd be whining about a $500 billion budget deficit. It would be a different kind of whining. It'd be a different, feel. You recall when President Obama was elected, we had gone through those extraordinary efforts to try to rejuvenate the economy in 2009 and 2010, and that was done. As a result of that, the economy re-expanded. We went through like a 78-month expansion of the economy, and the private sector unemployment just grew every single month by more than 200,000 jobs every month on average. That was a good thing, but you had to spend a lot of money to get that going. Remember we talked about borrowing $6 trillion from the future?
Oh, yeah.
Well, guess what today is?
The future.
It's yesterday's future.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so that money was borrowed right now. So it would seem to me that in order for you to correct that situation, you need to recreate the revenue streams that you had before, because you couldn't really afford to lose those revenue streams. You know, it's like if you got $1,000 worth of car notes and your income drops by $500 a month, then your car notes got to drop by $500 a month, or you're going to be out of balance, right? That's the situation that we're in right now. So the military is going to furlough about 800,000 people who are not going to get paid and are going to be suspended indefinitely until the shutdown ends. And they may not get any of that money back. That creates a certain kind of a curiosity here, because all of those people that get furloughed, they get laid off, they're going to go immediately to the unemployment office in their area and file for unemployment benefits, which they should do. But then usually what happens when these shutdowns occur is the Congress, after they reopen the government, there's bunches of bills that get put forward before the Congress. We have to restore the money to these people that got laid off. You know, their household budgets have been destroyed by what you guys did. And usually those people get some, if not all, of that money that they lost, they get it back. But if they get it back, but they were collecting unemployment during that time period, are you going to deduct the unemployment benefits that they collected from whatever it is that, you know, you're going to pay these people to restore, you know, their money? There's a lot of complexities in this, is what I'm trying to say. So law enforcement, according to the Justice Department, agents for the FBI, the Drug Enforcement Administration, and federal law enforcement agencies all would remain on the job. Prison officials. Obviously, the prison officials got to remain on the job. How are you going to shut down the prisons and have nobody at the federal prison?
Can't have crime
Can
running
you imagine
wild.
at Clinton Dannemora, if you shut it down and nobody showed up for work, what would go on?
Oh, my gosh.
At Rosedale and places like that? I mean, it would be insane. It'd be insanity, right? But it's like these people that control our Congress, particularly this Republican, you know, cast of right-wing, super right-wing type people. It's not that they don't understand. I don't think they're unintelligent. I think they understand. I think that they feel that whatever the chaos and disruptions are that occur because of their decisions are outweighed by the benefits they think are going to be generated by reducing the amount of spending by a certain amount.
That's absolutely it. It's like we're putting our foot down. We know chaos is going to occur, but we're putting our foot down on this one.
But, you know, I don't believe that the paychecks that go to the Congress people and the senators, I don't think those paychecks get stopped.
There's no furlough there.
Right. And that's why
they're essential workers, right?
Right. And that's why they're fast to do it, because, we're going to be taken care of.
And their families are going to be taken care of.
Right.
And whoever it is that pays for their campaigns,
right,
they're going to be taken care of.
And they're going to make sure that those people that they did lay off, that they feel it's important, they'll be later taken care of.
Now, a note that I found in the Reuters report that I found intriguing, it said, criminal prosecutions, including the 2 federal cases against President Donald Trump, would continue. They said they would continue. Right?
On, huh?
I thought that would be the opposite.
I did too. I thought that would be the first thing they would have done.
Oh, hold on, Mr. How do that? If you shut down a lot of things, how is that continue, or how is that straightened prosecution? I don't get that.
They didn't talk about that. They just said that we want to make sure that we continue to prosecute Donald J. Trump.
I don't know about
right?
that.
Now, where are you going to prosecute him at? At the courts?
Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. They kind of know that. They know that.
According to the article, the courts will stay open as well.
Okay.
So you're going to have courts in place. Aid to local police departments would be delayed, not necessarily canceled, but it would be delayed. So those contracts they have for the community police officers and that sort of stuff that we've gotten
responders,
that we've gotten used to, those dollars will disappear.
You know, I'll just say this real quick. In this process, so far as one thing, I really, this particular thing weakens the military.
Right.
You know,
Right.
Yeah, it really, really weakens the military.
At the same time that we're supposedly in this death throw
There's a
with
lot
China
going on
and,
right
and
now.
with Russia and
That's what I'm thinking
Ukraine
about.
and so on.
Yeah.
And so whose interests are being served by this?
You know, I don't.
Vladimir Putin's got to be laughing in his boots. You know, these donkeys over there in the United States, they're shooting themselves in the face and whatnot. You know, they're trying to come at me, but they can't come at me because they're too busy shooting themselves. Right? I mean, why would we do things that are in other people's interests that are anathema to American citizens'
Maybe
interests?
that's the point, Mr. Hammond.
And the core point, Willie, is that the American citizen is what is not being taken into account. The American policymakers, the American predators, the American venture capitalists, and so on, they're being taken care of.
Always.
But the American citizen is not being taken care of. We build these arguments over budgets and so on around false premises. You don't have to keep reducing tax rates, you know, and not taxing people at all in order to make those people feel good, claiming that that's going to stimulate the economy. You had since Ronald Reagan's era in 1980 to have learned by now that those tactics do not stimulate the economy. They don't result in economic expansion. Those capitalists who own those companies, when they get more revenue that they get to keep because of lower taxation, they put that revenue in their company's pockets or in their own pockets or in their stockholders' pockets. That money doesn't turn into growing, you know, new Calspans. Calspan's been sitting over there on Genesee Street since I was a child, right? Has it expanded one iota over that time period? It's basically a tax shelter, you know, right now.
Yeah.
You know, it's that sort of stuff that we've got to get our arms around. Border Patrol and immigration, they're going to be forced to continue to work. Now, you've seen those guys on horses and walking around in desert-like conditions, you know, in the sides of mountains, you know, facing the Rio Grande River, you know, and so on. Imagine those guys going for the next 2 or 3 weeks with no paychecks. They're supposed to go out here and catch these people that are trying to cross the river and, you know, help people that get themselves tangled up in the, you know, the balloons and whatnot that they got on or the buoys that they got, you know, in the river. Governor Abbott, you know, is probably saying, you know, chase that one back. Oh, that one's cute. Let her come back. I'm sorry, I made that up. But you know, just think about the reality for those Border Patrol people. Do you really think this is going to work? That you're going to have all of those people that are in these very dangerous and difficult occupations continue to work for free? Do you think that's going to hunt for very long?
No, not at all.
Right?
Not at all.
Most of the Federal Trade Commission's consumer protection workers, they're going to be laid off. Now, who benefits from the Consumer Protection Bureau? Regular American citizens, people that buy Wheaties, you know, people that buy bicycles, people that buy consumer goods. They're the ones who benefit from the Consumer Protection Bureau ensuring that they're not being cheated, that the products that they're buying are safe enough that you can trust them to be put into the hands of citizens. Those people are going to get furloughed. But the people that furloughed those citizens, they don't get furloughed. Just let that rest for a minute, right? The federal courts, they claim that the federal courts have enough money to be able to continue to operate all the way through October 13th. Nothing in the article says what happens to the federal courts after October 13th. So federal courts do collect fees, so they can operate for a certain amount of time based on the fees that they have been collecting. But remember, the people that collect the fees may be the people that get laid off. So even though the federal government may assign fees to be paid by people who were litigated through civil, complaints filed at federal courts, they may be fined or sentenced to pay certain fees. But to collect those fees, you need citizens to do the collecting. You need federal workers to do the collecting. If you laid them off, what value are the fees? The fees are just a bill. They don't turn into money until somebody actually collects the money.
That's right.
You got that issue. Airport security, screeners, and air traffic controllers, they will be required to work. Now, you all have been in the airports when it's busy. Imagine now you're an air traffic controller and you got 16,000 people in 1 hour trying to come through your turnstiles, and everybody's complaining, and why do I got to take my shoes off? Can I keep my pencil in my hat? You got all that stuff going on. And these workers are at it, intensely for 8 to 10 hours. Some may be working double shifts and so on. Those people you're expecting to continue to work at that frenetic pace with no pay.
No,
that doesn't seem a good idea.
I'll use your terminology. That dog don't fly.
That dog
don't
does
work.
not hunt. That's when you shoot the bird and the bird falls down someplace and the dog just stands there and looks at you.
No, ain't moving.
So you got that, right? Foreign affairs, your embassies and consulates, they're going to remain open, but they don't get paid because they're considered to be essential workers, right? People that process your passports and your visas, they're considered to be essential workers. They do have revenue streams, though. When you're processing those visas and passports, you're getting fees for every one of those documents that you process. So that revenue comes in, you can spend that revenue. But these operations are really supported by federal taxes. So at some point after October 1, even those passport places are going to run out of money and won't be able to continue. So you got that going on. And then, is anybody going to restore that money to the passport and visa offices when the government reopens again? Or will the government say, oh, we'll just keep that money? So you got that issue in front of us. Then there's foreign aid programs would run out of money. National parks. No, this as a citizen, you gotta speak for citizens. Here's what they say: the national parks will likely stay open. However, the restrooms. This is not funny, Norm.
No.
We're not supposed to laugh at this. This is tragic.
Mr. Hare, you got to go back to the natural way. That's all
So
you can do.
The restrooms will close, the information desk will close, and the waste disposal will close.
The natural way.
Now, when they say waste disposal, they're not talking about slag from a steel plant. They're talking about you going to the outhouse, and whatever you left in the outhouse, it doesn't get disposed. So it's going to keep staying right there in the outhouse. Right there. I'm not going in that outhouse, okay? When it reopens, I'm still not going to go in that outhouse. These are the consequences, and this happened. We had a shutdown in 2018. We had a shutdown in 2013. This consequence that I'm talking about right now, this actually happened, right? And a lot of people felt it. Hopefully you're talking to other people who experience that reality, who are helping you to understand that the people in your Congress who are not doing what was necessary to keep the government open, they're not serving you. And you need to make sure that they know that you feel that they're not serving you, and there are consequences electorally that they're going to have to pay for not serving you. Figure out who the bad guys are and unelect those people, throw those people out of office. That's what you really got to do. There are other ways to solve the problems that we have in this country financially that don't involve putting 2 or 3 million people on the street. It doesn't involve, closing parks. It doesn't involve closing classrooms. It doesn't involve suspending police programs. Those things don't have to occur. Those things are being done because people want to do those things to make it hurt in order to bully you into doing what they want in their way of dealing with the budget crisis. Yeah. There are other ways to deal with the budget crisis than the ways these people are insisting on. And you should hire people that will do right. rather than people that will do wrong. You got 30 seconds.
Before we go, quick question. Do you think that as of October the 1st, we will have another extension? Do you think that we'll be able to work something out?
I don't think they'll have it done by October 1st. Well, extension, they may do something like a 40, 45-day extension, to try to keep it open. Because remember, there's a lot of stuff that has to be done.
Right, but I think that they're just going to keep extending and keep getting small things in their favor and go from there.
Which is the exact opposite of what they said they were going to do when they had this fight over the debt ceiling in May, right? They said that they didn't want to keep doing these continuing resolutions, for 6 weeks or 6 days.
But that's all they want to do. That's all they want to do.
Exactly. And every time they do it, all you do is just create another choke point and have the same argument all over again 6 to 8 weeks from now. So that's what we really got to get our arms around. The people that are doing this are doing it on purpose. And we need to make sure that they know that we know that they're doing something that does not have to be done. There are other ways that are less onerous that we can use to solve our budget crises. Yeah. And if you don't start doing these things that way, we're going to stop supporting you. That's what really has to be done.
Mr. Here, I suspect that it's political. It's political power.
It's always political.
That's what I suspect.
But it's a different kind of politics than when we were kids.
Right.
These people's politics are now people against people. They're actually pitting pockets of people against other pockets of people, and they're doing it on purpose.
Yeah.
Listen, we got that song that comes on that tells us that the break is up. So don't go away. We will see you on the other side of the break here at Living for the People at 91.3 FM WVNY. See you in a minute.
They are our love bugs and companions. They are our pets, our family, and they make life better. When we face unexpected challenges, so do our pets. That's why we're on a mission to support people and their pets. Whether donating a bag of kibble, sharing an Instagram post of a lost cat, or welcoming a foster pet into your home, every bit of kindness counts. Visit petsandpeopletogether.org to learn how to be a helper in your community. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
91.3 FM WBNY is proud to present Democracy Now! With Amy Goodman.
Welcome to Democracy Now!
Award-winning investigative journalism.
Is the NRA imploding?
Providing relevant analysis that makes you think.
Secret State Department documents, including evidence of U.S. war crimes.
Fact-finding reports you will not hear elsewhere. Democracy Now! Airs Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. on 91.3 FM, WBNY, Buffalo. Ready for radio that's challenging, innovative, and encouraging? Tune in, Living for the People.
This is L. Nathan Hare. Join me right here, 91.3 FM WBNY. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 9 a.m. after Amy Goodman's Democracy Now! We'll provide objective analysis regarding current issues. Call 878-5104. It's Living for the People on 91.3 FM WBNY. All right, welcome back to Living for the People. This is L. Nathan here, your host. We're here with Norm Carter, who's our citizen and our in-studio audience of one. Welcome back, Norm.
Thank you, Mr. Hare.
And, of course, we're here with Willie H., who does the actual live streaming of the program. Welcome back, Willie.
Welcome, everybody, to Living for the People with L. Nathan Hare. Calling, guys, 716-878-5104. I see some of you guys posting on the Facebook, but call in. We want to hear your voice. 716-878-5104. I often have people call afterwards, but don't call after the show is over. Call now.
There you go.
Thank you.
All right. And so I'm going to move to another subject, but I just wanted to give you some direction. If you want to get more information on what's happening with this government shutdown and what the consequences are going to be, type in Reuters. That's Reuters. Reuters. That's Reuters. That news site. Yeah. Type in U.S. government shutdown. Just type that in. Type in Reuters, then type in Reuters government shutdown.
That reminds me, rooter to the tutor. So when you
Right.
when you really going after the information, rooter to the tutor.
Okay, you're going to change their spelling now. So don't mess that up.
No, we got it. REUTER, right?
TERS.
TERS, right?
Right. And so you type in Reuters, then type in U.S. government shutdown. This article will come up, and you'll be able to see the immensity of what's being talked about. And you can evaluate for yourself. Don't just take my word for it.
Right.
Evaluate it for yourself. Is what's happening here, is this rational? Is this reasonable?
Right. And Mr. Hare, is it anything that we can do that really can make a difference where we kind of force them to, come on, guys, don't shut the government down.
The only thing that you can do is make them believe that where they have a 5-vote majority in Congress, that they're going to lose that 5-vote majority because you're going to vote, 7 or 8 or 9 of these Republicans out of office.
Oh, that'd be great.
You know what? We have 5 to 8 or 9 of them that are basically really, really trying to hold up the.
Yeah, they call it the Freedom Caucus. It's like the freedom from being able to live a decent life. That's who they are. Are their names? Have you put their names out there? Right. Well, you've seen them. It's some. It's Comer. It's Marjorie Taylor Greene. It's Josh Hawley. It's that cast of characters, Matt Gaetz, and so on.
Well, here's my point. If you go directly at them and state that they're the one, because see, this is not just affecting. The Democratic Party.
I hear what you're saying, but my belief is that those people that are the most hardcore, they're so entrenched with the population in the districts that they're in that no matter how much advocacy you do, you're not going to beat them in their districts. But you've got 218 Republicans in the Congress.
Right.
You only need to flip 5 of them. So you just need to go at all the Republicans, every single one of them that are not willing, not all Republicans per se, but the ones that are not willing to find less onerous ways of dealing with the budget issues that the country has.
I got you. Certain ones may be just sitting on the fence. Mm-hmm. And is that where the only should go?
Whether they sit on the fence or not, what we're saying is there is no fence for you to sit on. Either you're going to be in the corner of us American citizens, or you're going to be in the corner of the predators.
Yes.
One or the other. There's no middle ground here.
Yeah, that's right.
I think now. I mean, I know that ideologically there's a middle ground, but I want American people to understand that if you don't play hardball to make these people do things that are in the interest of American people per se, you don't play hardball for that. They will keep taking from you over and over and over again, and you're never going to be able to claw it back.
And I got you 100% because that's exactly what the GOP is doing.
Right.
They play hardball, and we are, we're sitting here playing wiffle ball.
Right, right. They're playing chess and we're playing checkers.
Yeah, it's a complete different thing, and we need to pick that concept up.
Hey, Mr. Hare, I just got a call from a concerned citizen about. He said the pronunciation is Reuters.
He's right. He's right.
REUTERS.
He's right.
I tried to get him on the air.
Right. Reuters is the right way to pronounce it.
Yeah, Reuters.
Everybody get his name. He's correct. Okay.
Yeah.
Say it the way he said it. It's Reuters. But if I said Reuters and spelled it, you would have said what you spelled doesn't sound like. But it's cool. So on another subject, I went to an article written by Joan Grieve. She was writing for The Guardian online magazine. And she posted this article that says Kevin McCarthy says hard right Republicans want to burn the whole place down. Just what you were saying last week, Norm.
Yeah.
So they said that Speaker McCarthy was dealt his second humiliating defeat when his conference again failed to approve a procedural motion to be able to get a vote on a budget deal on the floor to be debated. Now, the thing that's interesting about this is McCarthy saying that these hardline Republicans want to burn the place down, don't want to do a deal. They don't even want to have a debate on the deal. how terrible this is. That's what he's saying. But McCarthy has been doing this all through the Biden administration. Everything that the Biden administration proposes, McCarthy and his people will do everything they can to prevent those issues or those proposals from getting even a debate, not only not getting a vote, not even getting a debate on the floor of the House of Representatives. He's been doing this for the entire 2.5 years of the Biden administration. So it's intriguing to hear the person who has been the perpetrator now claiming that they're the ones being victimized, right? But according to McCarthy and his folks, he says there's no clear path forward on the Republican negotiations. Discussions related to the 2024 budget appropriations bills, he says they're ongoing. Tom Emmer, who is the Republican whip in the House, said in a statement that members are advised that ample notice will be given ahead of any potential votes tomorrow or this weekend. Now, what he means by that is before the vote is going to be taken, you need to have enough time to be able to read what it is that you're going to be voting on. If you read like Donald Trump reads, the likelihood is you won't read it at all because you can't read. But if you read and you're not a speed reader and you're getting a document that may be 50, 80, maybe 400, 500 pages, and you get it the day before the vote, can you read 400 or 500 pages between today and tomorrow before the vote? If you can't, you really got to go to your staff and say, staff, what do you think about, these proposals? And if the staff says it's okay, you got to go with what they say if you haven't had the ability to read through this stuff yourself. That's what I think is going to be going on right now, right? Did you ever thought about that, Norm?
Well, when it comes down to McCarthy, I'm going to just say this real quick. I think he's kind of a paper tiger, and he's leaning whichever way, the status quo goes. He's somebody that's just, as I said earlier, on the fence. And
so, here's the 5 people in the Republican Party in the House of Representatives who are absolutely saying that they don't care what you talk about, unless you do a budget deal that does what they say, which is to shrink the federal budget for everything but the military. Military gets anything they want.
Yeah.
But outside of the military, everything must be shrunk by at least 8%.
Okay.
That's what they want. The people that are insisting on this is Dan Bishop, who is a congressman from North Carolina, Andy Biggs, a congressman from Arizona, Eli Crane, another congressman from Arizona, your cousin, Marjorie Taylor Greene. Does she have an evening gown on? Okay, no, that's another story. She's a congresswoman from Georgia. Matt Rosendale, congressperson from Montana. They're opposed to even allowing a vote on the floor to open debate on the budget proposals. If they don't get what they want in what Kevin McCarthy is putting on the floor, they say you can't have anything, period. So McCarthy says, I don't understand why anybody votes against bringing an idea and having the debate. This is a whole new concept of individuals that just want to burn the whole place down. That doesn't work. That's what Kevin McCarthy's saying.
But why is
But he's been trying to burn the whole place down.
That's what I'm saying. Why is he even saying it?
Because it's political. He knows that you don't really have enough seasoning, enough knowledge about what's really going on day to day in Congress. So he can come out and act like he's the victimized person by these people because he knows that you don't have the background. But the reality is the very thing he's complaining about is what he's been doing for the past 2.5 years.
He's already leaning that way. Yeah. So, that's what I was.
Well, he's not doing it because of principle. It's not like he's doing it because he's holding out for some particular set of principles. He's doing it because he's holding out to get a deal amongst the Republicans that will allow him to continue to be serving as the Speaker of the House. He's trying to protect himself.
Protecting himself and protecting how he looks as the Speaker of the House.
Right.
Yeah.
So given that the defense spending bill is usually one of the least contentious spending measures in the House, the second failed vote spelled major trouble for the spending talks. If no agreement is reached on a series of funding bills, there are 12 resolutions of streams of government that have to be funded by a funding resolution issued from the Congress to the Senate, from the Senate to the President. Only one of those bills has even been put into a final form. That's the defense appropriation. The other 11 bills haven't even been put in final form yet.
So defense can't be touched, and all the other things, which at this point we have 5 days left.
Right. You can't
nothing has been touched.
You can't even get up on the fence because they haven't built the steps to get up on the fence for you to be able to get up there. According to Hakeem Jeffries, he says House Republicans continue to hold captive or continue to be held captive by the most extreme element of their conference, and it's hurting the American people. Why are the American people facing down another manufactured GOP crisis? They need to end their civil war. That's what Hakeem Jeffries, who is, our majority leader in the House of Representatives. I'm sorry, the minority leader in the House of Representatives. And he's right. They're literally waging war against the American people to get things the way that they want things.
And just like he just spoke, it almost seems like it's about to cause a civil war.
Right.
And I mean, really, it's very, very important that this gets taken care of, because the way things are going now, and we got 2024 coming up.
Keep in mind, you have this situation going on in Europe between Ukraine and Russia. If you allow the Russians, if the world allows the Russians to succeed in conquering Ukraine, what's going to stop them from conquering Poland? They had conquered Poland once before. In fact, more than once before. They've conquered Romania before. They've conquered Moldova before. Lithuania, before. Latvia before.
Yeah.
Soviet Georgia before. Chechnya. I mean, all these dominoes will start to fall. Romania, all of these dominoes will start to fall if you let this go down right now.
Well, as we spoke before, right now at this point, it really does seem, number one, that the Ukraine has a huge resolve. They're fighting. They are in many facets pushing the Russians back.
Right.
You know what I mean? Now, this is the time when all of these countries need to band together and make sure that they let Russia know, you ain't that strong anyway.
And as an American, ask yourself this question. Try to strip away a lot of the verbiage, the rhetoric that keeps, being pushed out, through the media and these social media sites and so on. Mm-hmm. Try to strip things down to simple things.
Bare bones.
Whose interests are served if if the United States fails to continue to provide funding to Ukraine?
That ain't nothing but Russia's interests.
Russia's the only one who's going to benefit from that.
That's nothing but Russia.
And the Viktor Orbáns, from Hungary, and so on, those kinds of people, these authoritarian regimes, they're the ones who are going to benefit from it. You have to ask yourself, is the cost of another 15 or 20 or 30 billion dollars of aid to Ukraine, is that cost so high that it's too high a price to pay in order to prevent, the resumption of countries conquering other countries just because they can?
Well, not at all, because when it comes down to keeping democracy, right now, this is what we need to all band and get the. I already know the UN is already involved, and everybody needs to show solidarity that we're not going for this. It basically it supports all of our best interests to push Russia back where they need to be, and you can't just come and just conquering countries because you want to.
Remember, if you elect Uncle Donnie says, I'll end the Ukraine war in 24 hours, because he'll just tell Ukraine, I'm letting the Russians in. You all should just duck, okay? Because the Russians are coming. I'm not going to do anything to stop them.
Yeah.
Because that's what he's going to do, right?
Yeah.
I think we have a caller that might have a thought about that. So Trump posted on his Truth Social, whatever he calls that, Twitter account or whatever you call it, the social media account. He says Republicans in Congress can and must defund all aspects of crooked Joe Biden's weaponized government that refuses to close the border and treats half the country as enemies of the state. So Trump basically is saying that everything that the Biden administration is proposing are things that are oppositional to the interests of the American people. Oppositional to the American people is you prosecuting Donald Trump for committing what was virtually treason, at least sedition, in this country, that's you're attacking the American people because you're attacking me. If you allow yourself to be sucked in by that, then you deserve the consequences that we're going to incur. I think we have a caller hanging on. Let me get that caller real quick. Hi, caller, are you there?
Yeah, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Good to hear your voice.
Yes, good to hear yours too. Listen, I don't have any statements or anything, but I do have questions.
Sure.
I think questions are the most important instrument.
Mm-hmm.
My question is, I heard you mention about supplying money to Ukraine.
Right.
How much did that jet cost that they lost?
I think that jet was $110 million.
That's just one plane.
For one plane.
One plane.
In fact, we could buy houses for everybody in the Madison district.
Yeah.
Okay, for $100 million. There'd be no unhoused people in the Madison district for $100 million for one plane.
I just wanted to present a question. I have one more that I would like to ask.
Mm-hmm.
How long are we going to just sit around and talk about things that really don't concern us? We have always been at the bottom of the totem pole.
Mm-hmm.
In medicine, I think to build up immunity, they give you a little bit of the disease as time and let it build up, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we were given the whole shot.
Mm-hmm.
But the things that really don't affect us, we live with them, we look at them, we get up in the morning, but it don't affect us. This shutdown is not going to do anything for us because we live it on the bottom of the pole anyway.
Right, you're not going to feel it because you weren't getting any services from the government in the first place.
I've said too much now. To continue with this beautiful show that you present to us every day, or 3 times a week.
Well, that was a great point of view. Thank you for bringing that up.
You say we already feeling it already.
He ain't just telling you the truth.
Yeah.
He said, if you look around and ask yourself, if the government shuts down, what's going to change in your life?
Wow.
You're going to get your milk the same place.
Wow.
Your car's going to get gas the same place. Nothing's going to change for you.
For a segment of us, he's I hate to say it, but he's right.
The reality is,
oh my Lord,
if stuff does not affect you, right, you don't have a resounding, feeling about it. It's just a passing feeling.
But it does affect us somehow, right, Mr. Hare?
Oh, it does. But what the caller is saying is it doesn't affect you in a way that you personally can see it. Right. So if they're not getting passports done over on Broadway and Ellicott Street,
right,
do I feel that?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I know they need to get passports done, but it don't make any difference in my life.
Well, when they don't fund different things for the daycare and for kids and for young women.
Now, what Norm just said there, see, that's something that you feel.
Yeah.
Although they've made you not understand that you were feeling it.
Yeah.
Under the Biden administration in 2021, they had a bill passed that created a child care act to expand child care options in the United States. So one of the problems you had in this country is there weren't enough places that provided child care services in the country in the first place. So when the COVID-19 panic came along, you had people that needed to be able to access child care who couldn't access it because there was no child care anywhere in their area. So Biden put money out there to be able to get that done and to expand to increase salaries for those child care workers. That bill expired in September 30th of 2022.
Oh, wow.
But you didn't feel it until this year. By the time you got to this year, you can now see how many women were kept out of the job market because they didn't have any place to put their kids. Yeah. How many families were kept out of the job market because they didn't have any place to put their kids? How many kids were not learning how to read, write, and count because they were not in an organized place that would teach them how to read, write, and count? You didn't feel that until a year later when you saw the effects, on people. But the problem is, did you connect the bad effects? Did you connect that to the decisions that were being made in Washington by certain populations of people who said, no, we don't like child care. We want to give child care to business owners, to take care of the business owners. We don't want to give child care to kids. Right. What do we care about kids? They don't produce anything, and so on, right? So let me get to our last thought. Did the caller is
Yeah, the caller is gone.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay.
I noticed there's people, just to let you know, Mr. A, there's people that listen to our program, but some of them, for some reason, they're intimidated. They scared to get on air. So
a lot of people don't like to, because they know the people hear their voice. I know who that is. Right?
Okay.
Gotcha. And they just don't want to get caught up in that. Yeah. But, that's okay. Keep listening. You'll get strong enough to want to call in sooner or later anyway. What would a second Trump administration look like? Stephen Collison wrote an article for CNN. Trump is explaining exactly, not people saying what Trump would do. This is Trump saying what Trump would do.
Okay.
So we don't have to have all that whining about, you're just making this up. Donnie wouldn't say things like that. No, these are Donnie's words. Trump is conjuring his most foreboding vision yet of a possible second term, telling his supporters in language that was similar to the run-up to the January 6th mob attack on the U.S. Capitol, when he told these people they needed to fight like hell and they will lose their country. Right. The rhetorical escalation came at a rally in South Dakota in just a week and a half or so ago. President Joe Biden, he accused President Joe Biden of ordering Trump's indictment on 91 charges across 4 criminal cases as a form of election interference. Now, keep in mind, they began investigating Donald Trump 9 months before he declared his candidacy for the presidency. So it couldn't be electioneering when they began to do the investigation. They came up with these charges based on the investigation that was underway. Trump is the one who made it a electioneering issue when he announced that he was going to run in spite of the fact that he was being investigated in 4 states, 2 federal investigations and 2 state level investigations. So Trump says, I don't think there's ever been a darkness around our nation like there is now. He accused Democrats of allowing an invasion of migrants over the southern border and of trying to restart COVID hysteria. I mean, this is Donald Trump now. He's telling you that Joe Biden invited an invasion of migrants to come across the southern border, that Joe Biden did that, and that Joe Biden is launching another wave of hysteria about COVID-19.
Yeah, they use some truth, which is truth. There are more migrants, but they use a little truth to tell a big lie.
And so here's just on the COVID-19 thing. We're now back up to 30 or so thousand new infections a day.
Right.
We're going to be at over 100,000 new infections a day in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Because of flu season. Now,
you won't have the same percentage. You won't have like 2% of people that get infected die. Mm-hmm. But if you have 600 times more people getting infected, even though it may be a much smaller percentage, it's going to wind up being more people that are going to be dying from the infections from this virus. This is not Joe Biden pitching hysteria. Joe Biden is saying if you have good sense, you need to get vaccinated.
We know what it is now. We've been through it, so why don't we, and this is not on anybody but us, we need to, as a people, do what's right, get vaccinated, and do the precautionary measures so that we don't get infected by this.
Joe Biden's administration is not mandating vaccinations for anybody, but he is putting money up, has money on the table now.
Oh, yeah.
You can get 4 tests kits for testing your household for COVID-19, you can call on the phone and you can get 4 test kits that'll come to you within 2 or 3 days. Right now, that money's already in play right now.
Right. And most public agencies, when I go to, they have free tests.
Right.
Yeah, that preparedness is the key.
Right.
Yeah.
So Biden is doing what you need to do to get people prepared and get people vaccinated without trying to compel people to do it. So we don't want you to get into your freedom. You're free to get sick if that's what your thing is, right? You know, put a cowboy hat on and say, I'm free to get sick. You know, so that's the deal. So characteristically, Trump argues that the true peril of America's political freedoms did not spring from his attempt to invalidate a free and fair election, but from efforts to make him have to face legal accountability for doing so. The autocratic cast of Trump's campaign is creating an ominous atmosphere around the 2024 election, a growing debate over whether Biden at age 80, this is the conundrum, that Joe Biden at age 80 has the necessary stamina and political resilience to beat Donald Trump. That's what's being argued on one side. And on the other side, they're saying that while his predecessor spent the weekend casting doubt on America's election system. So you got Trump undermining the government of the United States on the one side, and you got so-called, progressives saying that, well, Joe Biden's 80 years old, he may not be able to make it through this race. If Joe Biden falls during the course of this race or during the course of his presidency, then the vice president of the United States is going to step into that role.
Yeah.
The vice president of the United States isn't even 60 years old yet, so stamina is not going to be an issue.
And she has but there's a cabinet that supports the president.
Right.
And the vice president.
You're not just electing the president,
right.
You're electing the president's cabinet.
Yeah.
You're electing the president's policies.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to elect the policies of Donald Trump? Do you want to elect the kind of people that Donald Trump has already shown you that he would put into appointed offices if he were the president?
My God.
You've seen this story before, this
Yeah.
movie before, right? So let's get it straight. Thank you all for listening to us and supporting us. Sorry, we're a little bit over our hour. Please apologize to the show that follows us. We look forward to talking to you all on Wednesday here at Living for the People at 91.3 FM WBNY. See you all then.